Welcome to Promo Insiders, an ASI media podcast that covers the topics that matter most to the promotional products industry. I'm CJ Mitica, editor-in-chief, and today I'm joined by our ASI media crew of Teresa Hagel, Sarah Lewandowski, and Chris Rubo to discuss the promo industry's branding problem. And by that, I mean the negative ways in which the public views promo companies. It's not all bad, though. We'll discuss how the industry can improve its reputation and play a bit of word association to identify the optimal term used to describe logoed items, swag, branded merch, or whatever you call it. So I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. Why are we talking about this? Well, we just released a special series this week called 5 Ideas to Improve Promo. And these ideas aren't quick fixes or simple things. These are big and ambitious ideas that are meant to transform the industry. And it's going to take a lot of work and some big thinking to make them happen. So again, it's 5 ideas. We're going to release one per week, each day of the week. And I think, Teresa, your article just published yesterday, because we released this on Wednesday, about going plastic free in the industry. Sarah, you have one at the end of the week about dramatically improving the order process. And Chris, your article is actually the reason we're talking about this topic today, about how to improve the promo industry's reputation. And in this podcast, we'll discuss some of the reasons why we think it does have a bit of an image problem, and we'll talk about some ideas on how to improve that. But to start, Chris, just give us a synopsis of the article. Just what did you what did you find out sort of in your reporting, talking to people, and what are some of the big themes that emerged?
Yeah, so just real quick, the premise of the article is, as you say, that it's kind of ironic that the promo industry, we're supposed to be experts in branding, but collectively the industry has a bit of a branding problem in a way. There's been no shortage of articles recently where, our industry has been accused of being wasteful and bad for the environment. We've seen articles where the economy turns a little bad and CEOs are coming out saying, oh, we have to cut down on swag spending and stuff like that. So the premise of our article, right, CJ, was that we were going to say, okay, that's certainly not how everybody feels, but there is this perception that promo products are disposable, that they're schlocky, that it's kind of almost the black sheep, if you will, of the advertising world. So we wanted to talk to a lot of industry experts, people who we know are very thoughtful, considerate, intelligent people who think about these types of issues and how to collectively make their business better. And then how can they apply that thinking to make the industry collectively better? So that was basically the premise for the article. And we came up with, I guess you could call it a handful of ways that we could do it. But as you say, they're not quick fixes. Did you want me to jump into some of them?
I think we'll talk about them more, I think, as we get into like our ideas and what you reported in terms of how to improve the industry. Sure. Having said that and sort of painting the picture of what your article entailed, I want to jump back and Teresa, I'll start with you. Do you think the promo industry has an image problem?
Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, I think that people really do love to get free stuff. I mean, my dad is a perfect example. He'll go anywhere and like any free pen or any free anything he can get, he is all about it. But I mean, the problem comes in when it's something that is maybe made more inexpensively, not to say cheaply necessarily, but I know that I've gotten things that are logoed products that break very quickly or never really work. And I definitely take note of what brand is on there, who gave it to me, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm sure I've heard other people have similar experiences. So I think that there is kind of a, especially like things that are just given out at trade shows, like, anytime like you see journalists or people like coming from a trade show, they will post something about like, oh, look at all this crap that I got from, places. So I think there is a perception problem, especially for that kind of generic stuff that everybody will get at a trade show, or that's just kind of given out indiscriminately. If it's things that are sent to you, things that are more personal, people, I think that has more of an elevated appeal to it, because it's things that you want and it's special because it's coming to your house, it's kitted and whatnot. But stuff that you're just grabbing from, like the home show, and you're getting like a little house shaped keychain or something like that's, people will still take it because who doesn't like a free thing, but it does have kind of that bad perception to it.
Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it does still, unfortunately. And I think, there's such an emphasis, and Teresa can tell us all about it. There's such an emphasis now, especially in the corporate world, and those who buy, big brands, they really are looking for products that have a sustainable footprint, as far as how they were sourced, how they were made. So yeah, I think, and we've seen a rash of articles recently from people talking about the waste in promo. I think honestly there is still some waste, and I do think though, like, some people are writing from kind of a layperson's perspective, where they're not intimately involved with this industry. They may have been recipients of the items that Teresa mentioned, but they're not, like, they don't know how this industry is actually becoming more sustainable. That companies are focusing more on that. So I think a lot of what we're seeing is from that viewpoint that's kind of outdated, like when things were called a certain name and they were kind of like, tchotchke-esque, right? And they were just
Tchotchkes,
keychains.
doodads, all that
Right.
stuff.
Like there is a history of that. And I think people remember that. But I do think the industry is getting a little bit better. I think that we're focusing more on the sustainability aspect to it. Um, but sometimes I think, do you have to, and this is where distributors can come in, do you have to market using cheap items? Does that, like Teresa said, if you get a pen that only works once, or like I had a mug one time that, like, this silk screen just came right off. I mean, even though I hand washed the mug, this silk screen came off like immediately. Then I had literally a blank ceramic mug. Like, so it's just like, do we have to market with cheap items, or can we maybe not market so much with these smaller cheap giveaways and save our budget for more selective higher end products? I think that's what distributors are going to have to ask themselves with their clients.
And we have the technology now that you can work with people to find out what they actually want. I mean, I think that's always the key, is that if you pair it with good technology, on the back end, the digital stuff, then you can get people the physical swag that they actually will appreciate and want.
You guys brought up, both you, Teresa and Sarah, brought up a good point about, like, I guess when people think of the promo industry, they tend to gravitate towards the cheap stuff given away for free aspect of it. All of us having worked in this industry for now many years, we know how wide it is. It's really broad, and there's so many different facets of it that many people don't think about, right? Especially with high end and custom stuff and very unique stuff. But it seems like the part of the problem is that people just focus on the cheap giveaway aspect of it. Great,
Yeah,
Chris. Go ahead.
Totally agree. Yeah.
So, Chris, like, when we talked about this article, this is something you were excited to write about, because I think, because you recognize that, I think that there is an image problem. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what are your thoughts, like, going into it? It's something that we've, I think, as an editorial organization, are always addressing in our coverage, but it's not often where it's like, oh, let's write about this specifically and what people think about it and the image that we're portraying.
Yeah, I think the thing that really interested me was, there's, as everybody just pointed out, there is a difference between the reality of what the industry is and the perception of what the industry is, at least among some. And there's no denying that among some, it does have a negative reputation of being just an industry that cranks out cheap crap. I mean, we've all heard that term. And I wanted to, as part of this, I was interested in kind of digging into all the ways that, as Sarah alluded to, the industry is so much broader than that. And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just saying, hey, this is what we can do. I wanted to say, this is things that we're already doing as an industry and getting better at, and that we need to build upon and focus more upon that. So there's any number of, for instances, the perception. There was that article in Fast Company. I think that it sent the entire industry into a tiz, I guess, for lack of a better word, came out a few months ago, and it was just ripping the promo industry, saying that it's all it does is create waste, and that the industry don't give out swag anymore, and this and that. And that is hurtful as that is to read, and as many inaccuracies as there were in there about the industry, it is emblematic of a perception, and that perception hurts our industry because it influences how certain people buy and consume and use promotional products. So one of the big ways that we could kind of counteract that accusation as an industry of being wasteful is to genuinely operate with sustainability in mind, and with greater corporate social responsibility. Now, I know those terms can be a little vague sometimes, but if you drill down into what they really mean, and then start to build sustainability initiatives and corporate social responsibility initiatives into the core foundation of your business, and businesses of all sizes in our industry start doing that, there's no way that you can continue to call our industry one that's wasteful and not sustainable and this and that, because companies across the industry would have these initiatives in play. And there are already so many companies in the industry that are doing this and doing it genuinely, as we've documented on Promo for the Planet, our website on sustainability related to the industry.
And I mean, the thing is, every industry has an impact. I mean, it's not like we're the sole outlier in having, an environmental impact. That's anybody who's making anything. That's just the way it is. But we can make things in a better way, and we can, educate that we're doing that to raise the perception of the industry.
If you look at the forms of advertising, like a billboard requires materials to make and put up. On the web, it's like, oh, the web has no footprint. That's not true. It's using energy. Just look at the blockchain and how much energy it consumes. Like, everything has a cost. It's interesting though that that the conversation has shifted to wastefulness and sustainability. It's not like, oh, these are things that people don't want, or it's not effective. It's like the priorities have shifted to consider the environmental impact. And Teresa, you've seen that with Promo for the Planet. I mean, that it went from being not that it was a fringe concern, but it's much more central now than it was before.
Yeah, I mean, it's something everybody talks about. I mean, there is still, I think end users don't always care about it, but I think they all think it's nice. They maybe don't want to pay more for sustainability, but I think it's starting to become less of a feature and more of just like people expect it. They expect that it's going to be sustainable. I think that's one of the differences, that it's not like it's a fringe or like an extra thing. They kind of expect at a baseline, okay, companies need to be, operating this way. So they still want, things that cost, are cost effective and things like that. But I think they expect that sustainability layer to be there, or at least for companies to be working toward it.
Yeah, the anti-swag movement is something that, Chris, you brought up in your mention of that article, and it's something we're hearing about more. So I'll just open it up to the group. Like, where do you think this fits into the conversation? Like, how much is a harming the industry's reputation, and what do you think about the industry's response in trying to address the concerns that are being raised?
Yeah, I'll start. I think anytime that you have something like that come against your industry, you have to take it seriously. I also think that we're hyper attuned to it and sensitive to it because we do work in the industry. I don't think that that's necessarily a pervasive view that people don't want to get a product that can be useful to them, whether they paid for it or whether it's a giveaway. If it's useful and attractive, people are going to want that. And the reality is I feel like we're a bit of an easy target and low hanging fruit in this industry, because, as I think Teresa alluded to, every industry in the world requires raw materials to make things. We can't go back to living in the 12th century where we have the sheep on the field outside our house and we use that wool. Like, it's just not to make our clothes. It's just not realistic that we're going back to that. And so I don't want to go on a tangent, but I guess I already have. I feel like that anti-swag, you have to take it seriously, but I also don't think that it's massively pervasive, and I don't think that people are going to want to stop getting branded products that are useful and attractive to them in all the variety of settings that they already get them through, whether that's a kitted gift sent to their house, whether that's something gifted to them at a trade show, whether that's a sports memorabilia thing that they buy or get at a game. People want that kind of stuff, and it serves a purpose for the brand, and it creates an emotional connection in a way that many advertising mediums fail to do. And I think just the fact that sometimes, certainly not always, it's given away for free, and because some items are frankly made cheaply, it becomes an easy target to criticize for high-minded intellectuals who live in an ivory tower and don't have to actually work in the real world.
Oh snap!
Yeah,
Take
Chris,
that,
tell us how
Fast
you really
Company.
feel.
yeah. I mean, never
Um,
mind how many. Sorry, Teresa. Last thing, I'll shut up because it's obviously a pet peeve. Is it not to mention how many jobs it creates, not only in this country but in the developing world where a lot of the factories are located, and a lot of those factories are audited, and people are receiving a livable wage and have a job they wouldn't otherwise have as a result of that quote cheap crap that our industry is producing.
Yeah. Well, I think, going back to where you're talking about, like the anti-swag movement it's, you take it seriously, but at the same time, in the wider world, are people really thinking about this? It reminds me of like that idea of like kind of Twitter brain, where Twitter is like such a small percentage of people like that are actually using that social media site. But if you're on there all day, like you can think these like certain things are like such big controversies and so important, and then you go and like talk to your husband or somebody else who's not on there, and they're like, what are you talking about? What is a milkshake duck? What is this ridiculous? You know what I mean? Like there's just so many like goofy things that are on there that like if you're like laser focused on that, you're going to think it's a way bigger deal than it is, and then you have to step back and realize, okay, yes, people are talking about this, yes, maybe it's somewhat important, but it's only this tiny slice of people, and there's so many other things going on that are more important.
Sarah, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I agree. I think, going back to the ivory tower thing, like I think how many people are going to like multiple events a year? Most people like they may go to like a conference once in a while, maybe like once a year, but most people are not. I would posit most people are not like weighing how much swag they get in a year. They're going event by event and it may be little things that you're getting, but everybody likes to get a welcome bag at the door at registration. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. You like the little gift that they give you. It could be small things that they're giving away, but if they're useful, people like that stuff. I think that these people who are weighing all the swag they get, it must be nice to be able to travel and go to all these events. Like most people are not living that life. So
Yeah, how's
that's
your airfare impacting the planet,
right.
friends?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
It's
And
very hypocritical.
I agree. And I think, that like you're saying, it is low hanging fruit because you are seeing like physical products that can clog like it's brand fill, right? So does end up in a landfill. But the impact, the environmental impact of so many other things that we do is then not always looked at with the same scrutiny. Like you just said, how many people go to climate change conferences on private jets? Like that's a big pet peeve of mine. Like I just don't want to hear about it. So that kind of thing bothers me. But I think, like you said, I think that most people are not really thinking about this as deeply as we do. And I think that if we're going to start, picking out certain industries, we're not the only one. We're low hanging fruit. It's easy to pick on us. But I think we need to start looking at all the practices that we do and to say, look, even though it's invisible, these things that we think are green still have their own impact that we need to look at as well.
And I think it's important to know as well that some of this stuff or some of the items that we produce in this industry, they're not optional. Like it's not just something to give somebody, say, hey, like, do you want this? Like there's a lot of uniformed personnel, right? People who need logos and names on the things that they wear. And so it's like, okay, well, if that's gonna be a requirement of the job or the industry you work in, well, let's make it a high quality item that has a long shelf life and possibly could even be reused. So I think there's that angle of it for sure.
Totally, and to that point, apparel, as everybody here knows, is far and away the biggest selling category in our industry, right? And we don't live in a nudist society. It would be pretty cold, especially where we live in the Northeast in the winter, to go around naked. So you need clothing of some variety, even if it's not a formal uniform. So doesn't it make sense, if you work for a company, you're proud, you're happy to work there, you're proud of the company, to help to have the clothes that you're going to wear have some of that company branding on it, at least some of the time you're going to want to wear that. So you're wearing clothes anyway. We could have, it makes sense to have some of that be branded. And that's that's why when they paint with this broad brushstroke that the industry just creates useless crap, it's just not, it's not true.
And not to get on a tangent, but related to that point, Chris. So there was an article in GQ recently. Our friend Carrie Heller, about, I think, All of USA Clothing, sent to us about Camber, which is a manufacturer right here in Norristown, like down the road from me. They make exceptionally high quality, like sweatshirts and fleeces that are really coveted by the fashion world. Well, in the story, they were at, I think, like a menswear store in Jersey, or like a clothing store, and somebody walks in looking for camber, looking for something else, and the writer noticed that the guy was wearing a Camber sweatshirt. And he's like, and the guy was like, "Oh, I had no idea. Like, I got it from my like construction company. I've worn it for 20 years." Well, that's a sweatshirt that he wore, and kept wearing, instead of going to the store and buying something. It replaced him buying an additional piece of clothing. So that's a perfect example. Like, if you give something high quality that somebody's gonna use, it potentially replaces something they might have bought for themselves. It just happened to have a logo on there.
That's a great point.
And I mean, I think the other thing too is elevating the design of things, especially when we're talking about apparel. Like, if we focus on, the quality, and focus on like graphic design, and being more like retail, to make things that people actually want to wear, that's also going to elevate the industry.
Yeah, and I know we could go on and on. Though I just want to make one point about, Sarah, you mentioned before about like higher quality products and everything. It's actually one of the main pillars of the article that we talked about. Is that people said, suppliers should focus on trying to make higher end, better products, and bring more retail brand partnerships into the industry where possible. But that's only half the battle, right? It's like now distributors have to go to the end clients and educate, like, hey, you don't want to invest in maybe this lower end product that's maybe not as useful and that's not going to have the impact. Let's be a little bit more targeted and selective, and go with this type of product, because it's going to have more of an impact for these reasons. And I think you're going to see that, movement more and more, where there's going to be more a continued focus. People still aren't going to want to pay an arm and a leg for it. I'm not saying you're going to start, like $100 an item or something like that, but like you are going to see, I think, an interest in higher quality grow and start to dominate more of industry sales than it has traditionally.
Well, you see that already with like these influx of retail brands that are available in our industry now. It's the same thing. Like, this is the retail brand you would have bought. It just happened to be given to you as a gift, and the price doesn't have to be ridiculous. We talked about how the affordable items still carry a lot of perceived value, especially if you present nice decoration or packaging. It's like, it's not, it doesn't have to be a budget buster to really impress somebody.
Totally.
So I think we kind of like segue into like how can the industry improve its branding problem, its image problem, and we've talked about a couple. I think we talked about being more sustainable, using higher quality products. What else? What other ideas are there to help the promo industry's reputation?
Educate people, right?
Yeah. Go ahead, see.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, a lot of the stuff we're talking about is already happening, but people don't know about it because they do think of promo as just this very small sliver of stuff given away at a trade show, which is, one aspect, but that's not everything that's done. So, I think that distributors and suppliers, and us, as in our role at ASI, just need to continue to do more to kind of raise awareness and educate people about what the industry actually is and what it's actually doing.
I think it's a great point. I think too. I mean, this actually came up. I mean, I want to say, no kidding. About a dozen different distributor executives kind of made this as like their top point, and it's something. It's it's not groundbreaking. It's something you've heard before, but it's something that we really should be doing, and that is not always done, or is often not done. Is that we should sell solutions, not just product, right? And a great example of that we put in the story was from Brand Fuel distributor down in North Carolina. They had a client come to them. The client wanted what they described as kind of your old school traditional awards, to say, hey, great job to some marketing leaders at the company. Well, Brand Fuel was like, well, hey, wait a minute, like, these are marketing people. They kind of work in a create. It's not kind of. They do work in a creative field. They're creative types. They might want something unique and different. Anyway, long story short, they came up with this with like a custom branded guitar. Okay, and it was like, instead of getting like a more traditional thing, they got this branded guitar, and it launched this whole what became reward awards program there. They're called the Marketing Rockstar program, whatever it is, and that's just such a great example of like, hey, instead of just like, okay, this is what you want, I'll take your order, I'll try to find you a cheap price, and then and I'll get you that. Like, really being creative and getting something that launched this whole new program for a client, brought more value, and that the people who got it really loved. So if you just, it's one example, but if you multiply that out across the industry, across distributorships, and salespeople are trying to consult in that way more often than not, I know you're going to get resistance from some clients who are just like, I don't care, just order me the crap, like, okay, fair enough. But if you at least make that effort, I think you're going to find that more are going to actually want that more creative solution, and they're going to get better results from it. And what happens then is you have kind of an organic groundswell of people who buy these things and use these things and get these things, saying, wow, this is of greater value. I didn't just get something, I looked at it and I checked at the back of the deck. It's like, wow, this is cool. I like this. It's useful. It's neat. It's attractive, blah, blah. So I think by doing that kind of en masse, like, it's not a sexy bit of advice, but it's like hard work advice across the industry. Everybody does that more often than not. It collectively elevates, it genuinely elevates what we do and who we are. And then by consequence, or it elevates the perception of promo as well.
Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think, and this is just a normal like salesperson reaction or tendency. I think if you say, like Chris, say for example, like that company has had every year they have a repeat awards program, and it's just, we do this award, like we do this teardrop award every year, right? And you just know that it's like a guaranteed sale for you. You can kind of bank on it every year. Sometimes it's hard to say like, hey guys, like, let's try something a little different. Let's revamp this. Let's freshen this up. Let's like get more excitement around this. I think like there's a tendency to just kind of go for like the I don't want to say easy sale, but it's kind of that repeat business that you get used to. So I think that it really would behoove the industry, like you said, kind of en masse. Like if everybody kind of like a few accounts a year refreshed the products that they're pitching and were more selective about it, I think you'd see a real sea change in this industry. Um, I know, but like not everybody can afford, an awards program at a high level. So there are going to be those people who still go for the cheaper items. And that's just part of the industry. It is what it is. But I think that there's still a lot of opportunity to kind of upsell and take a risk. Like it is a little risky to kind of present something different to your client, but I feel like if they've trusted you this far, I think they can trust you to kind of take them down the right path with their next campaign. I will say, like, and this has been a little bit frustrating for me, to be honest. I take care of those like ESP reports every month, now every quarter. Those top 10 search terms like do not change very much. Like there'll be like seasonal ones that kind of drop in and out. Like there's like sunglasses and drop, and like beach towels, and then they drop. But literally pens and water bottles have been number 1 and 2 since January. Since January, month after month after month, it is pens and water bottles. And like, to me, those things, they are kind of they have a little bit of a tchotchke nature to them. Like those things that you just throw in a tote bag and give away at a trade show. So I really do like, I would love to see a little bit more. I don't know that those top 10 will change too much, but I would love to see a little bit more creativity in that realm. I think, maybe your client doesn't need a lot of small little things. Maybe you can save their budget a little bit and maybe pitch like a few items that can be used up. Like say you have like branded, like they have like seed soap, like seeded soap, and it has a recycled paper wrapper. Like maybe you can give out something that's sustainable and that also doesn't last forever. Like you use it up. Or like we have like those soy candles that are made sustainably. Like those could be used up and then you recycle the container. Like I think there's just opportunity to not just throw a lot of little things in a bag and just be more thoughtful about it and keep things at an affordable price point for end buyers.
It's interesting, Sarah, because we had that article that our intern Naya, who did a tremendous job earlier in the summer about how everybody has drinkware now and like this high-end drinkware. And so okay, well, like everybody's got that. Like, is there something else? Like, it reaches that point of just a mass ownership like tote bags were before, like pens are always. So that's an interesting thought. Also, and Chris, to your point, like I think as an industry, we need to move away from an industry of stuff to an industry of ideas, and that taps into the consultative selling that you mentioned and wrote about in the article. And it wants to be at the point where it's like, I think you don't want clients coming to distributors being like, hey, can't you get me this pen or this water bottle? You want them coming saying, hey, we've got this going on. What ideas do you have? So because that's when you can that's when you really step up and show your creativity, and then you've created enough trust and loyalty that they trust you, the distributor, to like come back with awesome ideas that they know they're gonna love.
Before a product is even mentioned, if you're in a distributor sales role, before you even talk, the focus should be on what is it you're trying, what is it, is it an event, what is this for, who are you trying to reach, and how are you trying to influence them? And if you know those parameters, that's the fundamentals to know, and then you work back from that to see what kind of products then are the right fit for that. And then what kind of branding and messaging then goes on those products. It should, exactly right, CJ. I think you start with what the goal is, the need is, who they're trying to reach, and work back from there.
And even more, like you want to be positioned as somebody as the go-to for like any request. Like I had an interview earlier today with the top 40 distributor, and they were telling me like that they've created enough loyalty that the client came to them and asked them, can you find like this obscenely expensive bottle of bourbon? Like they don't sell bourbon, but it's like, oh, you're the guys that can find stuff. You know what I mean? It makes it so much easier. And like for me, like think of this analogy. Like if you're having work done in your home and you have somebody come in and they're doing like tile. It's like, okay, now I'm having an issue with plumbing. Now I got to call a plumber. That's a hassle to call somebody else. Hey, tile guy, do you do plumbing? Yes, I do. Great. You made my life way easier. That's the same with advertising. Like even if it's not a promo product, but you can still offer an additional solution that's not right in your wheelhouse, that makes the client's life so much easier. And I think that will go a long way towards like helping it improve like what people think of promo companies.
Yeah, and to that point, it's one of the great, wonderful advantages of being a promotional products distributor is that you're not tied to selling any one particular product. You have such a massive amount of products to select from. It's not like you're just trying to go out there and sell one big industrial drill or something like that. That's what your company does. You make the big industrial drill. If the people don't want the drill, you ain't selling nothing. It's like you could sell so many of these different products. So like you put that work in to find the right ones. I guess. You want me to throw one more out, CJ, on like things from the artitle? Tips.
Yeah, sure.
I know we're going on. All right, I'll throw one more out. So because I thought this was interesting and a great point. It was one that had not occurred to me. And then afterwards, after the person who shared the point shared it, I was like, man, it really is good. We need to actually market better. It's funny because we're in a marketing medium, but as an industry, I think we need to market a little bit better. How both distributors and suppliers, how we're presenting products both on social media and in sales presentations and even at events. Like this was Sarah Whitaker, who runs Williams Advertising. It's a distributorship in Kentucky, and she does a good job of this, where she's like always, like, if she gets some kind of product and it's branded, she's trying to show it in a lifestyle setting, so like it's not like here's this, like, nice bit of fashionable drinkware, against a blank backdrop. It's like, hey, I'm out at the lake, and it's a sunny day, and I'm here with my friends, and I've got and this drinkware is a part of it, just the way you'd see retail brands market. Basically, that's the point in a nutshell, is let's market, you know solutions in a lifestyle vein, the way that retail brands do. Now, you can't always do that. It's not always feasible, but you can with a lot of the products in our industry. They very much lend themselves to creating a narrative, a kind of a bigger narrative in the market, in your marketing of it, but having the product be inserted in that narrative and part of it. So that,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, sorry to interrupt, but I was just gonna say that, obviously, if you're like a small mom and pop place, you might not be able to do that, but there's so many suppliers that have those kinds of assets for you that you could be using them, in your marketing. Like, they might already do lifestyle imagery that would be perfect to put on your Instagram or whatnot. So you don't necessarily have to do this all on your own. You don't have to break the bank, creating those social media assets, but use the suppliers that have already done that stuff for you.
Yes, use that imagery. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even think it's super time. Like, for instance, we get, product mailers all the time. We got the other day I got some caps. And like one was like a hunting style cap, and where I live in Pennsylvania this time of year, hunting's very big. So I'm thinking I could throw this on cap if I wanted to, like walk out into the woods in this beautiful fall setting, and just like snap a picture of me in it even, and throw it on my, and if I'm a distributor, throw it on social media, and like that, like that's just one quick simple way you created maybe a little bit of interest around the product, and that's actually what Sarah and Whitaker and some other people do, and they get like people, like their clients, like see it on their social, and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool, like, where does that, can you get me that? And they're like, actually I can.
Yeah, and I think people, and like, you can also, if you're active on social media, do it yourself. Like, if you're actually out and about using the product, just take a quick photo. Like look, I'm actually using this product in my daily life. It's the same effect. I think that was a very eye-opening idea when I read the article, Chris, from Sarah Whitaker. So I thought that was a really good point. Sarah, was there any ideas that you had, that's something that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I think it's being more creative and selective and selling ideas rather than products. Like, I know so often, I know it's tough because I think distributors are like, yeah, these people are coming to me though, like the Monday before the event, and that's the other big problem, is like the last minute stuff. And because our industry has tried to become like, the trying to smooth out the e-commerce so much that they can be like Amazon, I think you're kind of enabling people to think, oh, because promo is always the last thing they think of. So it's like, oh, I have a, I don't know, like a turkey trot, coming up on Saturday, and we need like cooling towels, let's say, or whatever. Like, we need something for our race participants, and it's a week out. Like, that happens all the time. And I think that it makes it tough to be like having these really creative brainstorming sessions with your clients, like multiple sessions. It's like, we got to place this order today because we won't get them in time. But you also, it's hard as salespeople, you don't want to say no, right? So it's hard to, like, I think it's just a matter of like, you know, it's hard. You have to educate your client and say, "Hey, like, we can do this for you, but like, let's talk about your calendar. Like, let's talk about what's coming up for you. Like, ostensibly that event you would have known about months out, right? So let's talk about your calendar. Like, start to have that conversation with them and say, what's coming up? How can we brainstorm this so we're not in a rush to get these things out on time? Like, let's really talk about that so we can work together. I can be your ideas person. Like you said, Chris, there's so much that we can sell in this industry. There's so much stuff. There's got to be an answer for somebody that's going to be creative. I think it's just a matter of getting people around, getting their minds around thinking ahead of time for promo products. Because I think that's part of its reputation that's not so great, is that it's kind of a last minute like add-on that people, it's kind of an afterthought that, people are like, oh, we should have something to give out, right? And actually, Sarah Whitaker, she in another article I wrote a few months ago actually said, like, is it really a good idea to be like the Amazon model is great, but is it really ideal for us to be pitching tote bags or trying to source tote bags on Monday when the event is Friday? Like, that's not good for promo. So yeah, I think it's really going to be some education, like we've been talking about, and trying to get end buyers' minds around thinking way ahead of time for their events and getting their calendar on your calendar and helping them think about that.
That's I great point. And hey, listen, we know that we don't exist, like we exist in the real world too, like just like distributors. We know that that it's very hard to kind of to get clients to plan in advance. It's extremely difficult, and a lot of times it is, you're just trying to, there's an avalanche of stuff coming at you. You're trying to keep up with the day. Even in that crazy scenario where there was, I have a race Thursday and it's Monday or whatever it is, you could still ping them back, I think, and say, well, is the race raising money for like a particular thing? Oh yeah, it's like some river cleanup. It's raising money. Oh, it's an environmental themed event. Oh, there's like plant seed things we could throw in there that meets the green instead of just doing wristbands or something. Like even like it doesn't have to be like a whiteboard or storyboard of like this massive campaign. It could literally be as simple as, hey, I matched a product to the theme of your event, and that took like 2 emails, or whatever it might be, and so it's that can even in that madness, there's still a millisecond to throw it to ask a question that could lead you to make even a slightly better product suggestion that results in a better result for that end client, right? So
people treat it like you're shopping at the grocery store, like right at checkout. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just grab these mints right here next to the register. And then you need to think of it like Thanksgiving dinner, like, hey, look, we need to plan this in advance. Like this is a big deal. Like you wouldn't like if you're marketing the turkey trot, you wouldn't like send out like emails and flyers like 3 days in advance, right? So why are you getting your promo in the same time frame? Right. So I thought that was a great point. So we're gonna, in the final stretches here, we're gonna play a little game. So this is something that Chris, it was very interesting in your article about what do we call these things? What are the terms that we use? So you asked a few of the people that you interviewed for the article for their opinion, and so but I'm going to ask you guys the same thing. Like, what term do you think is the best one in terms of labeling these items? So here's how we're going to work it. I'm going to run down the list after each one. We'll go Sarah, then Teresa, then Chris. Just say your gut reaction: positive connotation, negative connotation, or neutral, and then we'll do a quick discussion to see how we feel. All right. So here's the first one: promotional products.
Neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah, neutral but boring.
Thank you.
That's
I
how I feel.
Limited to one word.
I'm neutral. I feel like it's just a standard label on these items. It doesn't sway me one way or another.
Neutral, and it sounds a little
Stuffy.
slightly outdated.
Yeah. It's too long too. I hate writing that whole promotional products.
Well, that's why we do promo, right? That's why it's shifted over the years. Okay, next one. Logoed items.
I'd say neutral.
I am a robot. I am a robot. I am a logoed item. Yeah. I think I'm neutral on it though. I'm just being an idiot.
I'm negative. Like to me, it's like place your logo here. That's the logoed part feels like to me.
CJ, you swayed me. Once you put it like that, I agree. That can have a pretty negative perception.
Okay, then I go with you guys too.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna follow the crowd. Negative.
All right. This one's interesting. Swag.
I'd say negative because I learned from The Office that it means stuff we all get. So, yeah.
I actually,
negative.
I know that most people hate it, but I actually think it's positive. I like it. It's so easy to write and sounds like swagger. I really like it. I know the stuff we all get thing, but I don't think I just don't know if the general public thinks of it that way. I think it sounds cool.
My answer is Teresa said almost verbatim what I think. I actually like the term because to me, I didn't know about this stuff we all get until I'm ignorant, I guess, until I was doing research for this article. I thought similarly meant like you have swag or swagger. There's like it was like kind of a cool thing. I learned in reporting this article, people in our industry loathe that, like loathe, at least the ones I talked to, loathe that term. And they equate it almost like with like tchotchke or cheap crap. Like that's how much they did not like that term.
But I don't think regular people think that way. That's just
probably yeah.
Yeah, because my wife, she's a nonprofit professional. She buys swag all the time, and that's the term she uses, swag. And so like, and to her, and like that, and it's rubbed off on me. It's like the adjectives are fun and cool, fun swag, cool swag, like that. Those are the terms that she uses. So I was surprised, Chris, that there was such a visceral reaction to it among distributors in the industry.
Yeah, me too. Like I say, I like it and didn't view it as a negative term until I guess my perspective was, I still don't view it as a negative term, but I'm aware that others certainly do.
Yeah. All right, next one. Branded merchandise or branded merch?
I said positive. I think merchandise is kind of a higher end term.
I like positive. I like branded merch better than merchandise, just partly because I hate typing out long things. So, but I think it also helps to encompass more than just like something free, because it can be the things that you're buying from like the Dunkin' Donuts store or something. You know what I mean? Like it has like a wider connotation.
Yeah, positive. Everything Teresa just said. I won't even repeat it.
Yeah, I'm positive too. I think it's slightly elevated. And in fact, like whenever I tell people what I do, and usually like it confuses them, I often use branded merch just because that I think the merch aspect has a little bit of cool factor to it. And Chris, like that seemed to be the overwhelming favorite of the people you talk to.
Yeah, and people, and I don't know if we're gonna address this term too, but like merch as shorthand for that also was perceived like positively. Like they kind of, I think people tended to view branded merchandise, branded merch, or merch as somewhat interchangeable and kind of along like in the same lines, with merch just being the shorthand for branded merchandise.
It aligns nicely with like what rock and roll kind of like bands do, so it gives you that connotation, like the cool
influencers
factor.
And stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Get my merch.
Okay, next one. Corporate gifts.
I said positive.
Teresa does not feel
negative.
The same way.
Sounds, I don't know. I mean, like it's nice that you're getting a gift, but it just sounds awful.
I'm neutral on it. Like I don't see it as being like anything bad. It sounds a little dry and staid to me, but I'm neutral on it. Like I don't think it hurts. I don't think it hurts the industry to use that term.
Yeah, I'm slightly positive. Like it sounds a little stodgy, but also sounds kind of high end. So but I see what everybody's saying. All right, two more. Advertising specialties.
Negative. This reminds me of like the old 70s ads.
Hey
there,
kid, you want to buy some zany products here? I got my fedora on. Hey, all right. That sounds like it's
like,
the 1950s.
Yeah, the gold like pinky rings and just like the thick polyester ties and like matchbooks. Like, I hate
picture
it.
Like the guy, Sarah, in the 1950s suit where the men had the shoulder pads. Like that's kind of what I
like
picture.
going door to door.
And I'm fully aware of what our company name is, so maybe we should edit this part out. So,
I mean, negative for me too.
Oh.
I don't even know what it is. I mean, I know what it is now, but like if before I started working here, someone told me that they were selling advertising specialties, I have no idea. It's like a mystery to me.
Yeah.
It's just an old term. Vinny, our ASI Central and social media guy, Vinny Driscoll, put out a poll late summer, and the same question: what do you call products in our industry? 0% said ad specialties. It's just not used anymore.
It's great for what it was. I think it's one of those terms that have just become antiquated.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. Freebies.
Oh, yeah. This is what we're trying not to be. Right? Yeah, a negative on this one. I've never used freebies. I hate that word. Hate it.
Yeah, negative. I mean, it's not even everything that is done in the industry, so it doesn't even describe things accurately.
No.
I love it. I think it's the best term. I think it's how we refer to products in our industry. Yeah, no, of course it's awful. It's awful, and as Teresa said, it's not correct. Like there are things in our industry that are made and given away for free, but there's many things that are not. So it's just not. It's not a correct term.
All right. So out of all the terms I said, what do you think is the optimal one, Chris? I'll start with you.
That trifecta of branded merch. Branded merchandise, merch, and branded merch.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I like the merchandise term. I think it just elevates things.
It has, yeah,
Encompasses it nicely.
it elevates it. It's the most encompassing, and really in a lot of ways it's the most accurate to what the industry does. It's
I
we're
agree.
providing merchandise that's branded. So like I put on pump like
Plus,
that's
the nice thing about saying something is branded rather than logoed is that it doesn't need to have the logo on it. It could just be like the branding colors, or
That's a good point.
it means so much more than just putting a logo on something. It can be the logo, but it could be something else too.
and it just sounds fresh. It sounds like modern and fresh.
In 50 years, people will be like, branded merch. That's such an old-fashioned term.
Yeah, what are you like the millennials talking there? Oh my god.
I'm going to talk to Norman Cohn, and we're going to change the company name to the Branded Merchandise Institute, or BMI. I think it'll go over well. What do you guys think?
That might
Been
not be
nice working with you, CJ.
I still think swag gets a bad rap personally, but yeah, I think branded merch is branded merchandise is the overall winner of this contest. Very interesting. And by the way, interesting that like working in an industry where there's not a singular term for the the thing that they do, right? It's not like other industries. It's kind of weird in that respect. All right, so just to wrap up, Sarah, I'll start with you. What do you think is a key takeaway here about this the industry's branding problems, and where our listeners can pick up the ball in terms of helping out?
Yes, I think the big takeaway is, I know this industry for a long time. It's been a lot of it's a fun industry. It's for people who are kind of like, they had maybe a corporate career, now they're kind of transitioning into retirement years. It's like fun money for them. I think all of that is still valid, but I do think that all of us, including us at ASI, but everybody in the industry really has an obligation to look at this and take this seriously. I think it does affect sales. I think a dinged reputation, wherever it's coming from, those are pretty like, well publicized articles that came out. So I think that it does behoove everybody to look at this and say, how can I, whether I'm a part of a sales team at a huge company or I'm one person, how can I help elevate this industry? And I guarantee you there are ways to do that starting today. We talked about that. I think just being taking education more seriously about what's available in this industry, not going for the easy sale all the time, taking some risks with your clients and your prospects, taking your own reputation seriously and like really positioning yourself as a marketing expert rather than like a product peddler. I think that those things are really important. I think if everybody looks to elevate their own presence in the industry, I think, rising tide lifts all boats. I think that we can really help the entire industry elevate. But yeah, starting today, like just pick like one or two things that you can start doing with your clients to help educate them and let them know what's available in this industry so we can all kind of, their reputation has been dinged a little bit. I think we can all do our part to heal that a bit.
Teresa.
Well, I'm going to come at it from the promo for the planet angle. So, if people are complaining about this as like, cheap crap that gets thrown away, let's do more with sustainability and do more things that are, maybe it's like seed paper that gets planted, whatever it is. Let's do these things, document them. And then you have, a way to back things up. You have a way to like shoot back at people that are saying this is just like throwaway stuff. You can be like, well, our industry actually does, this percentage of things are recycled, or whatever the thing is. Like, you start doing those sustainable things now so that you have like ammunition for the next time one of these articles comes out, because I guarantee it's going to happen again because that's, like you said, it's an easy target. So it seems like people, like every few years, they trot one of these articles out. So if we're doing all of the sustainability stuff now, then we have, an answer to some of these criticisms.
Chris.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Sarah and Teresa, I think, said it extremely well, and a lot of maybe what I would have focused on. Maybe thing I could add to that is even more fundamental. Just think about this issue. If for nothing else, even if you don't like the suggestions we've come up with or the suggestions that are in the article, is no denying that there is a negative perception out there. We know it's not everybody, but there is a part of society or people that do view the industry. So recognize that, and then think about things you could do on a daily basis and then over the longer term to improve how you operate to really show that that is not what you are and what this industry is. So even if it's not something we've suggested today, there's probably all kinds of things that can happen and that you could do. Think about that. Go through that what's that, like the Mamba mentality, right? Try to get always be trying to get better. Work your process of always continually trying to get better. And if you do that and you're engaged in that way with a process of trying to constantly improve, it's inevitable that you are going to. And if everybody's working in that way in our industry, then collectively the industry gets better.
Yeah, I like that idea. Like we ASI, we're doing things on a national level, on this sort of top level of working with media outlets, putting out PR, doing these campaigns to drive home the power of promotional products and improve its image. But I think every distributor and every supplier and anybody who works in the industry has the power to help at a grassroots level, right? Just by doing their thing and working with people. And to sort of changing perceptions and making a difference. And so that's what I like about this, is that it's within everybody's reach to help with the situation. So thank you everybody for watching today and listening. Chris's article is available to read right now, asicentral.com. Again, a whole series this week, 5 ideas to improve promo. We'll have 5 articles total, 1 each day, and these are all sort of big picture type things that they're not easy, but we think are actually feasible. And this can take a little bit of work to get there. And so, well worth reading the entire package. So feel free to stop by each day to read them. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Tell your friends.